Porter, you're still awake?
You weren't where you said you'd be.
The lipstick was wrong, not the color. Vara had been wearing that shade of burgundy for 3 years, but the way it sat on her mouth, smudged at the corner like she'd been eating something messy, or kissing someone who wasn't me. I'm Porter Kellor, and I notice things. It's what kept me alive in Afghanistan, and it's what pays for our mortgage now as a security consultant. Details matter. The way people move, what they don't say, how they try to cover their tracks. My wife thought she was clever, but clever and careful are two different animals. "You're up?" Vara said, slipping through our front door at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. She kicked off her heels with practiced quiet, the kind that comes from months of late arrivals. "Thought you had an early flight to Chicago." "Delayed until Thursday." I stayed in my leather chair, nursing a whiskey that had gone warm an hour ago. "How was the meeting with the investors?" "Boring. Numbers and projections." She moved toward the stairs without looking at me. Hayes kept us late going over the quarterly reports. Hayes Rellin, her boss at the tech company where she handled corporate development. 42, divorced last year, drives a Tesla that costs more than most people's houses. I'd met him at company parties, the kind of guy who shakes your hand too long while looking over your shoulder for someone more important. "Must have been some reports," I said. "Your perfume's different." She paused on the third step. "What?" "That's not the vanilla stuff you always wear. This is more floral, expensive. Jennifer let me try hers in the bathroom. I liked it." The lie came smooth as silk. Jennifer was her assistant, a 24-year-old who wore drugstore body spray and ate ramen for lunch. "Huh. Well, you should shower. You smell like someone else." Vara's jaw tightened, but she kept climbing. "Don't wait up. I'm exhausted." The bathroom door closed with a soft click, followed by the hiss of running water. I waited 30 seconds, then moved to her purse on the kitchen counter. Her phone was still warm. Calendar showed 3 investor meetings this week, all lasting past 9 p.m. Her ride-sharing app had trips to the Meridian Hotel downtown, not where Hayes's office was located, and there, in her recently deleted photos, was a picture she'd meant to erase. A man's hand wearing a distinctive silver ring, reflected in a hotel bathroom mirror. I'd seen that ring on Hayes's finger at the last company barbecue. Instead of confronting her, I took photos of everything with my own phone. Then I opened her contacts and found a number I'd memorized from Hayes's business cards, his wife, Lyra Ventrix. I sent her a text from my phone. "This is Porter Kellor, Vara's husband. We need to talk. I have proof." The response came back in less than 2 minutes. "I know. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., grind coffee on Elm Street. Come alone." I deleted the conversation from my phone and headed upstairs. Vara was still in the shower, probably scrubbing away evidence. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her move around the bathroom with guilty precision. When she finally slipped under the covers, I pretended to be asleep. She lay rigid beside me, not touching, barely breathing. After 20 minutes, her breathing deepened into sleep. I smiled in the darkness. Now it gets interesting. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Grind Coffee was one of those places where laptops outnumbered actual conversations. Perfect for a clandestine meeting. I arrived 10 minutes early and claimed a corner table with clear sightlines to both entrances. Old habits. Lyra Ventrix walked in at exactly 2 p.m. I recognized her from Hayes's social media. Tall, elegant, with the kind of understated beauty that came from good genes and better maintenance. She wore a charcoal wool coat and carried herself like she owned the room. She spotted me immediately and approached without hesitation. No nervous glances, no fidgeting. This woman had steel in her spine. "Porter." She sat across from me and folded her hands on the table. Show me what you have. Direct. I liked that. I slid my phone across the table, photos already queued up. She scrolled through them with the detached interest of someone reading a weather report. The hotel receipts are damning, she said, handing the phone back, but I have better. From her purse, she produced a tablet and turned it toward me. Bank statements, credit card bills, restaurant receipts. Hayes had been sloppy with his money trail. Dinner at Romano's, population 2, charged to his personal card. Jewelry from Tiffany's, not my size. A weekend at the Cape Cod resort where I've never been. Her voice remained level, professional. He's been busy. How long have you known? 3 months, maybe longer. I started tracking his patterns after he began working late every Tuesday and Thursday. She paused. Your wife has a standing reservation at the Meridian Hotel bar, same table, same time. I leaned back in my chair. This woman had done her homework. What do you want out of this? What do you want? She countered. Everything. The house, the assets, and his reputation in ruins. I want him to regret the day he decided my wife was worth his marriage. Lyra smiled for the first time since sitting down. It transformed her face completely. We want the same things. The question is whether you want war or if you want to win. Why not both? Because war is messy and public. Winning requires patience and precision. She closed the tablet. I propose an alliance. We move quietly, gather more evidence, and strike when we have overwhelming advantage. What kind of advantage? The kind that destroys them both professionally and personally. Hayes has been using company resources for his affairs. Company credit cards, company car, company time. That's grounds for termination and possible legal action. I whistled low. You've been busy. I have a law degree I never used, and a husband who thinks I spend my days shopping and getting my nails done. Her smile turned predatory. He's about to learn otherwise. We spent the next hour planning. Lyra had connections, lawyers, private investigators, social contacts in their professional circles. I had surveillance skills and a talent for finding pressure points. Together, we could orchestrate a campaign that would leave Hayes and Vara with nothing but each other and a pile of ashes where their lives used to be. One more thing, Lyra said as we prepared to leave. This stays between us until we're ready to move. No confrontations, no dramatic scenes. We let them think they're safe. How do I act normal around her? The same way I act normal around him. Practice. She stood and gathered her coat. I'll be in touch within 48 hours. Don't do anything stupid in the meantime. I watched her walk away, noting how every man in the coffee shop tracked her movement. Hayes was an idiot for cheating on her, but his stupidity was my opportunity. My phone buzzed with a text from Vara. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. I typed back, no problem. Enjoy your meeting. Then I called Trent Ardell, my father's old lawyer and the meanest divorce attorney in Massachusetts. Trent? It's Porter Kellor. I need to see you tomorrow, and bring your sharpest knives. Trent's office looked like a library had mated with a courtroom and produced offspring designed to intimidate. Leather-bound law books lined the walls, and his desk was large enough to land a helicopter on. The man himself was 62, silver-haired, and had a reputation for leaving opposing counsel in smoking ruins. Your father was a good man, he said, pouring coffee from a silver service. He'd be proud of how you turned out. Now, what's this about needing sharp knives? I laid out the situation, Vara's affair, the evidence, my alliance with Lyra. Trent listened without interruption, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. Adultery doesn't matter much in Massachusetts, he said when I finished. No-fault divorce state, but if we can prove she's been hiding assets or using marital funds to support the affair, that's different. What about Hayes using company resources? That's between him and his company, unless... Trent's eyes gleamed. Unless we can prove your wife knew about the misuse of corporate funds and benefited from it. That could be conspiracy. How do we prove that? We don't. We let them prove it for us. He leaned forward. Here's what we're going to do. First, we inventory everything. Every asset, every account, every investment. Then we wait. Cheaters get sloppy when they think they're safe. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a ghost in my own life. I tracked Vara's movements, photographed her receipts, recorded her phone calls when she thought I wasn't listening. She'd grown bold, taking personal calls in the living room while I worked in my basement office. "Hayes, we can't keep meeting at the same place," she said during one call. "Porter's been asking questions." A pause while Hayes responded. "No, he doesn't suspect anything, he's just observant. It's what he does for a living." Another pause. "Fine. But somewhere more private next time. I'm tired of sneaking around." I was tired of it too, but for different reasons. Lyra and I met twice more, comparing notes and refining our strategy. She'd discovered Hayes had a second credit card he thought she didn't know about, one he used exclusively for his extracurricular activities. Dinner at Le Bernardin in New York, hotel suite at the Plaza, shopping at Bergdorf Goodman, she read from her tablet. "He's pulling out all the stops for your wife." "How much has he spent?" $37,000 in 3 months. I choked on my coffee. 37 grand? Your wife has expensive tastes. The necklace from Tiffany's was 8,000 alone. I thought about the new jewelry Vara had been wearing, the designer clothes that kept appearing in her closet. She'd claimed they were bonuses from work or gifts from her sister. I'd been naive enough to believe her. "When do we move?" I asked. "Soon. Hayes is planning something special for next week. He booked a suite at the Four Seasons for Thursday night. Same night you're supposed to be in Chicago." "Supposed to be?" "Your flight's been moved to Friday morning." I checked. Lyra's smile was arctic. "He's been tracking your travel schedule through your wife. They're planning a romantic evening while you're safely out of town. Except I won't be." "No. You'll be with me, watching them walk into our trap." That night, Vara was unusually affectionate. She cooked my favorite dinner, opened an expensive bottle of wine, and spent the evening curled against me on the couch, watching a movie. It was almost like the early days of our marriage, before ambition and routine had worn down the edges of our relationship. "I love you," she said as we headed upstairs to bed. "I know I've been distracted with work lately, but I want you to know that you're the most important thing in my life." The lie was so smooth, so perfectly delivered, that for a moment I almost believed her, almost forgot about the hotel receipts and the secret phone calls and the way she smelled like another man's cologne. "I love you too," I said, and meant it. I loved the woman she used to be, before Hayes Rellin and his silver ring and his $37,000 in guilt money. But love wasn't going to save our marriage. Nothing was. Thursday arrived gray and drizzling, the kind of October day that made Boston look like a noir film. I'd told Vara my flight was at 6 a.m., which meant leaving the house at 4:30. Instead, I drove to the airport, parked in long-term parking, and took a taxi back to the city. Lyra was waiting in the Four Seasons lobby, dressed in black slacks and a cream silk blouse that probably cost more than my car payment. She looked like she belonged there, which was the point. "They checked in 20 minutes ago," she said without preamble. "Room 1247. Hayes used his real name and the company credit card." Sloppy. Arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. She handed me a room key card. 1249. I booked it this morning. We took the elevator to the 12th floor in silence. The hallway was empty, carpeted in deep burgundy that muffled our footsteps. Room 1249 was directly across from 1247, with a perfect view through the peephole. "Now we wait," Lyra said, settling into the chair by the window. We didn't have to wait long. At 8:30, room service arrived with champagne and strawberries. At 9:15, I heard Vara's laugh through the wall, bright and carefree in a way I hadn't heard in months. "Are you all right?" Lyra asked. Fine. But I wasn't fine. Listening to my wife enjoy herself with another man was like swallowing broken glass. How do you stand it? Practice, and the knowledge that revenge is a dish best served cold. At 10:45, they emerged from the room. Hayes wore a hotel bathrobe and was carrying an ice bucket. Vara was in one of his shirts, her hair mussed, looking younger and happier than she had in years. I took photos through the peephole as they walked to the ice machine, laughing and touching each other with the casual intimacy of established lovers. When they returned to the room, Hayes pulled her close and kissed her against the door. Got it, I whispered, checking the photos on my phone. Clear shots of both their faces, the room number visible in the background. Good, now comes the interesting part. Lyra produced her own phone and dialed a number. Hayes, it's me. Where are you? I could hear his voice through the speaker, tinny and panicked. At the office, working late. Why? I'm at the Four Seasons having drinks with the Pemberton account. I thought I saw you in the lobby, but the man was with some woman. A brunette in a blue dress. Silence. Then, must have been someone else. You know I'm terrible with faces. Must have been. Well, I should let you get back to work. Don't wait up. I'll probably be late. She hung up and smiled. He's terrified. Probably calling your wife right now to warn her. Sure enough, through the wall we heard Vara's phone ring, followed by urgent whispers. 10 minutes later, they were dressed and heading for the elevator, looking like they'd seen a ghost. Phase 1 complete, Lyra said, gathering her purse. Tomorrow we move to Phase 2. Which is? We let them know we know, but not how we know or how much we know. Keep them guessing, keep them scared. I thought about Vara's face in the hallway, flushed with guilt and fear. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than hurt and anger. I felt powerful. Friday morning, I was sitting at the kitchen table with divorce papers spread out like a battle plan when Vara came downstairs. She'd dressed carefully, conservative suit, minimal makeup, hair pulled back in a style that screamed responsible professional. You're back early, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. How was Chicago? Enlightening. I didn't look up from the papers. Coffee's fresh if you want some. She poured a cup and sat across from me. What are you reading? Legal documents. Trent Ardell drew them up. I finally looked at her. Divorce papers, Vara. I'm filing today. Her coffee cup hit the saucer with a sharp crack. What? Porter, what are you talking about? I'm talking about Hayes Rellin and the Four Seasons and the fact that you've been lying to me for months. I kept my voice level, conversational. I'm talking about the end of our marriage. That's ridiculous. Hayes is my boss, nothing more. If someone told you different, nobody told me anything. I saw for myself. I slid one of the photos across the table. Room 1247, Thursday night, 10:46 p.m. She stared at the image, her and Hayes kissing against the hotel room door, and her face went white. You followed me? I didn't have to. You're not as careful as you think. Porter, let me explain. No need, it's all very clear. I gathered the papers and stood. Trent says the divorce should be finalized within 60 days. You can keep your car and your clothes. Everything else stays with me. You can't do this. The mask slipped, revealing the anger underneath. I'll take you for everything. The house, the business, half of everything you own. With what? You've been using marital assets to fund your affair. That's called dissipation, and it's going to cost you. I headed for the door. Oh, and Vara, Hayes won't be able to help you. He's got problems of his own. I left her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the photo like it might change if she looked at it long enough. My next stop was Hayes's office. Rellin Technologies occupied 3 floors of a glass tower downtown, all chrome and exposed brick and motivational posters about synergy and innovation. Hayes's corner office had a view of the harbor and furniture that cost more than most people made in a year. He was on the phone when I walked past his secretary, but hung up quickly when he saw me. Porter, what brings you here? Vara's in meetings all morning. I'm not here to see my wife. I'm here to see you. I closed the office door and took a seat in one of his leather chairs. We need to talk. About what? About the Four Seasons, about company credit cards, about the fact that you've been sleeping with my wife for 3 months. Hayes's face went through several expressions: surprise, denial, calculation, fear. He settled on aggressive bluster. I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything. The hotels, the restaurants, the $8,000 necklace from Tiffany's. I know about the company car you've been using for personal trips and the corporate credit card you've been using to fund your midlife crisis. You're fishing. Am I? I pulled out my phone and showed him the same photo I'd shown Vara. This was taken Thursday night, same night you told your wife you were working late at the office. Hayes slumped in his chair. What do you want? Nothing from you. You're not worth the effort. I stood and headed for the door. But you might want to call Lyra. She's been asking questions about your expense reports. I left him sitting there, probably calculating how much trouble he was in. The answer was more than he could imagine. My phone buzzed with a text from Lyra. Coffee in an hour, I have news. I texted back, good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. Lyra was waiting at our usual table at Grind Coffee, but she wasn't alone. A man in his 50s sat across from her, expensive suit, tired eyes, the look of someone who'd seen too much of human nature's darker side. Porter, meet Detective Ray Morrison. He's with the Financial Crimes Unit. Morrison stood and shook my hand. Mrs. Ventrix has been very helpful with our investigation into her husband's business practices. Investigation. Embezzlement, misuse of corporate funds, fraudulent expense reports. Morrison sat back down. We've been looking into Rellin Technologies for 6 months. Your wife's affair just gave us the missing pieces. I looked at Lyra. You called the police? I called the SEC first, then the IRS, then the police. Hayes has been stealing from his own company to fund his lifestyle. The affairs were just the tip of the iceberg. Morrison opened a folder and spread out documents. Your husband has been creative with his bookkeeping, Mrs. Ventrix. Fake consulting contracts, inflated travel expenses, phantom employees on the payroll. We estimate he's stolen close to $2 million over the past 3 years. $2 million? I whistled. That's federal prison time. 15 to 20 years if convicted, and with the evidence Mrs. Ventrix has provided, conviction is almost certain. Lyra smiled. I told you revenge was best served cold. What about Vara? I asked. That depends on how much she knew, Morrison said. If she was just the recipient of gifts, she's probably safe. If she knew the money was stolen and helped him hide it, she's an accessory. I thought about Vara's expensive tastes, her new clothes and jewelry, the way she'd never questioned where Hayes got the money to lavish on her. She might be naive, but she wasn't stupid. There's more, Lyra said. Hayes tried to throw your wife under the bus. He told the investigators she seduced him and demanded expensive gifts. Said she threatened to tell me about the affair if he didn't buy her things. He what? Complete fabrication, of course. The timeline doesn't match, and Hayes initiated contact with your wife, not the other way around. Morrison closed the folder. But it shows his character. He's willing to destroy anyone to save himself. My phone rang. Vara's name flashed on the screen. Porter, where are you? Hayes just called. He says there are police at his office, that they're arresting him for embezzlement. He says it's all a mistake, that someone set him up. Not someone. His wife. And me. Silence. Then, what? Lyra Ventrix and I have been working together for weeks, gathering evidence of Hayes's crimes. The affair was just the beginning. You can't do this to us. I didn't do anything to you. You did it to yourself when you decided our marriage wasn't worth protecting. Porter, please. We can work this out. I'll end things with Hayes. We can go to counseling. Too late. The papers are already filed. I hung up and turned to Lyra. What happens now? Now we watch them fall apart. Hayes will probably flip on anyone he can to reduce his sentence. Your wife will have to decide whether she wants to be loyal to a man who just tried to destroy her reputation to save his own skin. Morrison stood. I should get back. We'll need formal statements from both of you within the next few days. After he left, Lyra and I sat in comfortable silence. Through the coffee shop window, I could see news vans pulling up outside the Rellin Technologies building. Any regrets? She asked. I thought about it. 3 weeks ago, I'd been a man whose biggest worry was whether to upgrade my home security system. Now I was divorcing my wife and helping to send her lover to federal prison. None, I said. You? Only that it took me so long to act. She gathered her purse. Hayes should be in custody within the hour. Your wife will probably try to distance herself from him as quickly as possible. Let her try. The damage is done. Lyra stood, then paused. Porter, would you like to have dinner tonight? Somewhere public, where people might see us together? I understood. The final insult, not just destroying Hayes professionally and legally, but showing the world that his wife had chosen his enemy over him. I'd like that very much. She smiled. Good. I know just the place. Romano's was the kind of restaurant where Boston's elite went to see and be seen. White tablecloths, crystal stemware, and prices that could fund a small country's GDP. It was also where Hayes had taken Vara for their first dinner date, according to the credit card records Lyra had provided to the investigators. We arrived at 8 p.m., fashionably late and impeccably dressed. Lyra wore a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage, while I'd dusted off my best suit, the one I wore to court when testifying as an expert witness. The hostess seated us at a prime table with a view of the entire dining room. Within minutes, I spotted familiar faces, colleagues from Vara's company, clients I'd worked with, members of Boston's professional community who thrived on gossip and scandal. Perfect, Lyra murmured, scanning the room. Half of Hayes's business associates are here tonight. By tomorrow, everyone will know we're together. Is that what we are? Together? She looked at me over her wine glass. What do you think? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Vara. Please call me. Hayes has been arrested. I need to talk to you. I showed the message to Lyra. She's panicking. Let her panic. Hayes is probably telling the FBI everything right now, trying to cut a deal. If your wife was smart, she'd be talking to a lawyer instead of texting you. Vara was never as smart as she thought she was. That's how we got here. The evening passed pleasantly. Lyra was intelligent, witty, and had a talent for making me forget why we'd originally been thrown together. By dessert, I found myself genuinely enjoying her company, rather than just appreciating her as an ally. What happens after this? I asked as we waited for the check. After what? Dinner? After the divorce, after Hayes goes to prison, after the dust settles. What do we do then? Whatever we want. She reached across the table and touched my hand. We're both about to be free, Porter. Free from spouses who didn't appreciate what they had. Free from the lies and the betrayal and the pretending everything was fine. And free to be with each other? If that's what we both want. I was about to answer when a commotion near the entrance caught my attention. Vara had arrived and she was making a scene. Where is he? She demanded of the hostess. I know he's here. Porter Kellor, my husband. The hostess tried to calm her down, but Vara pushed past and strode into the dining room. She spotted us immediately and headed straight for our table, her face flushed with anger and desperation. Porter, we need to talk. Now. I remained seated. Hello, Vara. You remember Lyra Ventrix, Hayes's wife? Soon-to-be ex-wife, Lyra corrected pleasantly. How are you holding up, dear? I heard about Hayes's arrest. Such a shock. Vara's eyes darted between us. You planned this, both of you. You set us up. We didn't set you up. I said. We just documented what you were already doing. Hayes says you planted evidence, that you hacked into company computers. Hayes is a liar and a thief, Lyra interrupted. And apparently, he's also a coward who's trying to blame everyone else for his crimes. He loves me. He threw you under the bus the moment the FBI walked into his office, I said. Told them you seduced him, that you demanded expensive gifts, that you threatened to expose the affair if he didn't keep paying. Vara's face went white. That's not true. Ask Detective Morrison. He has Hayes' statement. The restaurant had gone quiet, other diners pretending not to watch while hanging on every word. Vara looked around, finally realizing she was making a public spectacle of herself. Please, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Can we talk privately? We are talking privately. Just you, me, Lyra, and 50 of Boston's most connected professionals. I stood and dropped cash on the table for the check. But we're done talking, Vara. We're done with everything. I offered Lyra my arm. She took it with a smile, and we walked toward the exit, leaving Vara standing alone by our table. That was cold, Lyra said once we reached the street. That was necessary. She needed to understand that her actions have consequences. And now she does. We walked to my car in comfortable silence. The October air was crisp, full of the promise of winter and new beginnings. Your place or mine? Lyra asked as I opened her door. Yours. Mine still smells like lies and broken promises. She laughed. Mine it is. As we drove through the city streets, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the passenger window. 3 weeks ago, I'd been a man whose wife was cheating on him. Tonight, I was a man who'd turned the tables completely. Hayes was in federal custody, facing years in prison. Vara was alone and facing social and professional ruin. And I was driving through Boston with a beautiful, intelligent woman who understood the value of patience and precision. Sometimes revenge really was best served cold. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in March. Vara got her car, her clothes, and a lecture from the judge about the consequences of marital misconduct. I got everything else: the house, the business, the investments, and the satisfaction of watching her realize she'd traded a stable marriage for a fantasy that had turned into a nightmare. Hayes plea bargained down to 12 years in federal prison. Vara wasn't charged with any crimes, but her reputation was destroyed. She left Boston 2 months after the divorce was final, taking a job with a small firm in Portland where nobody knew her story. Lyra and I were married in a small ceremony overlooking Cape Cod Bay. No drama, no complications, just 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their previous lives. We kept both houses, hers for entertaining, mine for privacy. We kept both lawyers. You never know when you might need good legal advice. And we kept both sets of friends, though we made some new ones along the way. Sometimes I think about what might have happened if I'd confronted Vara directly, if I'd chosen anger over strategy, emotion over patience. We probably would have had a messy divorce, split assets, and gone our separate ways with nothing but resentment and regret. Instead, I chose to be smart. I chose to be careful. I chose to win. And in the end, I got everything I wanted: justice, vindication, and a woman who appreciated what she had, instead of always looking for something better. The house on Elm Street is quiet now, filled with the kind of peace that comes from honesty and mutual respect. Lyra is in the garden, planting roses for the spring. I'm in my study, working on a new security consultation for a tech company whose CEO wants to make sure his employees aren't stealing from him. Some lessons are learned the hard way. Others are taught by example. I prefer to teach by example.